You need to start dropping some good ads to make sure that you get business. So you really need to think about it from so many different levels through the holidays.
You do, because you have seasonality in your business, or cyclicality, as I dropped earlier. Because that's what I do. I just drop gold nuggets of big words for everybody.
We need to have a gong or something for a gold nugget that you drop. Boom.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Here we go. Well, cheers, Alan.
Cheers, Chris.
It is good to see and be seen. Again, we have had some amazing interviews lately, and I really wanted to take a pause so you and I could talk about holidays. I love the holidays. I love Christmas, love Thanksgiving. I love doing all of that stuff because I get to see my family. But you also know what happens? I got to see my family.
Yeah. The in-laws?
The in-laws. Outlaws.
How much bourbon does it take to cope with the in-laws?
So Chris has to drink more than just a couple beers that he has with Alan to make it through his in-laws date. Don't get me wrong, I love my in-laws. I love everything about them. Just got done spending a whole big Thanksgiving with them. But the anxiety level of having to prepare and get ready for them to come in and then entertain the whole time they're on. And then when they're gone, you're like, oh, good, I finally get a break. Oh, crap, 4 weeks from now it's Christmas.
Right.
My anxiety level is through the roof.
You're not the only one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I read a stat. The American Psychological Association, I may have that wrong, says that only 8% of the population is actually admits to being happier during the holidays.
8%?
Yeah, 40%, and that's the lowest number I saw in the research I did, is more stressed during the holidays, and 20% are extremely stressed. So 1 in 5 are little ticking time bombs.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
That's an amazing stat. I love that. That doesn't blow my mind because I've been at this for 13 years, working with people in their homes, and here comes the holidays.
Right, and we should be excited.
And we should be happy, and we should be giving thanks, because here in America, Thanksgiving is 4 or 5 weeks of Christmas, and for people who celebrate Christmas, that's a big deal. Hanukkah's always around there too. So there are a lot of holidays going on. We should all be thankful and looking back on the year that is. We get to ring in the new year. We should be happier, right?
We should. We should be sitting around the fire with eggnog and hot chocolate and singing carols and enjoying family. But what are we really doing?
We are absolutely laying it down and killing people who kind of come work in their house. They are anxious and I got to buy presents. I got to go to the kids' events. I got to go to recitals. I got to go to concerts. I got to go to those final games. I got to go watch the kids do the thing at school. And then I have to go have lunch with them at the school in the cafeteria, make little hand turkeys. And then I got to go back and put on the headdress. And I got to go back at Christmas time and tell everybody how happy I am that they're here. And then guess what? The kids are coming home with me for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you've got in-laws coming in from out of town. And you've got these hard deadlines, and you have these expectations that your life is going to be just like one of those Hallmark Christmas movies. And it just never quite lives up to that. And you throw one other thing, and you know me, I'm a big psychology guy. So it's seasonal affective disorder. Are you familiar with that?
No, I've never heard of that one.
So, you've heard, so I came from the Pacific Northwest, and the suicide rates are higher up there because the days are a lot shorter. And of course, up there it rains all the time. So you may have, if you have an office job in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to leave your house when it's dark, get into the office. And then when you leave the office, it's going to be dark. And people in Alaska and people in the Northwest, some people actually invest in certain kind of lighting to actually improve your mood. But, when you have those shorter days that are darker, it's just one more little thing during the holidays that just puts everybody on edge.
I love that we're talking about this. And I'm glad we took a break to talk about working with people during the holidays, and you just bring out the fact that we all need grow lamps.
We do need grow lamps.
We have to have lamps on us and a lot of light on us to help us grow like plants.
Your neighbor's going to think you're growing weed, but you're actually just trying to make yourself happy, one way or another.
Just for the record, I'm not espousing or confirming or denying that you should grow weed, or do I grow weed? But yes.
Or that it makes you happier.
But it makes you happier, maybe.
That's right.
But yeah, so there he is.
We should have been having this conversation as it relates to business probably in August.
Why is that?
Because if you're now just in a small business and you're thinking about what to do around the holidays, you're a little late.
So I'm a little late to helping you guys with how to handle customers like this.
I think we can talk about handling customers, but I think just in the overall perspective of just preparing for the holidays. I mean, it starts with your people. So if you haven't had this discussion starting in August, what you're going to find out is, oh, Susie booked a cruise and didn't bother to tell you around Christmas until 2 weeks beforehand.
Oh, you mean the holidays are not just for our customers and us, they're for our employees too. Oh, that's a novel freaking concept.
They do celebrate the holidays.
Oh, that's
and they kind
right.
of forget about the fact they actually have a job.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so wild. Oh my God. Does everybody understand what we just said?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. By the way, why are we talking about this? And to date ourselves, we're in December of 2021. And what happened to me is my sales manager said, I'm taking 2 weeks off over Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, you are, huh? Okay. He goes, I told you a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay. And then I said, hey, does everybody else want to tell me their holiday schedule? And boom, they come out of the woodwork. I want this. I want this. At one point.
When was this?
This was right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So I was ahead of the game a little bit. I'm like, all right, everybody tell me your days off. I'm like, okay, there are 2 days with overlap that we'd have nobody in the office. So let's all start working on our schedules a little bit tighter. And now I'm the Grinch. Now I'm the guy who just said no, as opposed to planning for it.
Yeah, so if you'd started in the summer, because when's the soonest you're going to book a vacation or actually talk to your family? You need to be ahead of that time.
Right.
And as a business owner, I think you need to set up, okay, what days are we closed during the holidays, and publish that. And then you start talking about vacations. And it depends on how big your staff is. You know, in a big company, in the corporate world, you never would have just told your boss, oh, hey, I'm taking 2 weeks off at Thanksgiving. You would have had to fill out the form and hope you didn't get in trouble. And it's so weird in a small business. People just think, yeah, I can just go whenever I want.
No, he deserved it. I was all on board on it. I'm not telling you I was the ogre who said that. But the ogre went, well, wait a minute. Has everybody else told me when they were going to be off?
Right.
And we started laying out the Christmas vacation. I'm like, oh, that's not going to work, everybody. Because in home services, you think, well, do people really want you in their house during the holiday season? Guess what? They do. Because you know what's coming. The family. And just start to envision right now Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation, National Lampoons, with the whole family descending on it. But having your employees and having that staffing set up correctly is huge because it helps you figure out what you're going to do to support. Yes, let's face it, it will be a little bit slower around Christmas and New Year's. It happens regardless of your religion or regardless of anything else. Things will be slower, but there will be needs. There will be wants, and there will be service to be delivered.
And there will be opportunity to make some good money. And the thing is if you actually set this up, and I'm serious about August. You need, as a business owner, maybe you're not talking to your staff necessarily then, but September for sure. We need to be thinking about the holidays, and here's the dates that we're going to be open. Here's the dates that we're going to be closed. And let's start talking about vacations because you'll find most people will work together pretty well. Hey, I'm not going anywhere for me this year.
Right.
I didn't go anywhere for Thanksgiving. And actually, we had a client that needed to see a property on Friday. No big deal. Christmas, I'm going to be in Belgium. And so my partner is going to have to cover for me when I'm in Belgium while I covered for him over Thanksgiving. And you'll find your employees, you should be able to work it out pretty easily early because they haven't already booked the cruise. But at the closer you get to the holidays, it's like, hey, maybe we'll go up to New York. For, those kinds of things are going to come up. And you don't want to be the Grinch, like you just said.
Right.
And you'll also find that Yeah, not everybody celebrates Christmas. I mean, I think a vast majority of people do, but you're going to have, Thanksgiving. You may have a Canadian employee and they just don't, they have a different Thanksgiving day. Around Christmas, you have, some folks that don't celebrate Christmas and they may be more than happy. Or there may be somebody who says, hey, yeah, I celebrate Christmas, but I want to make some more money. So if you in home services, I'm more than willing to be on call for emergencies.
I think that you hit on that so well, because that's a big part of this. There are guys, especially my technicians, the Friday after Thanksgiving, that's a day to get away from the family. They want to go back out and be at work and be at the artist they want to be. So I had to lay out the rule that says you can all work, but nobody touches water on Friday. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I said nobody touches any plumbing in the house on Friday of Thanksgiving because I'm usually gone and I can't afford to have somebody flood a house while I'm not around to help everybody. A little joke aside, but it's interesting when we talk about
sounds like
the
something
holidays.
you learned the hard way.
Okay, I did learn that the hard way. Yes, Friday afternoon it happened. So we talk about this during the holiday season. Things are supposed to be joyful and fun, but yet they're anxiety driven. And we just hit on how do you get ready for the anxiety-driven customers by having your employees all set up. And that stuff is just gold, people. I'm telling you, having it set up in August, and you're sitting there scratching your head going, I'm sweating my guns off in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's 100 degrees. You want me to think about Christmas right now? As a business owner, you should.
Yep.
And that's why you should have that plan. Tell people, hey, if you're going to you want to have that big week, you want to have that big week, I need to make sure those two big weeks don't overlap. I get it, it's going to be slower, but we still need to have coverage.
Well, you have to get all your people on the same page, and they have to be delivering a consistent message. And so the first thing you need to do is just make sure schedule-wise you're good. So this doesn't go out to the general public. But once you get that set up, then you start rolling into September and October, and then you can start thinking about messaging. And I'm sure there's a lot of small business people that forget to actually update their Google page, their website, their social media of what their holiday hours are going to be like or what expectations should be during the holidays, especially now with supply chain issues. But, even if you have a set staff, there's a certain amount of tune-out that's going to happen about, December 15th. And really that week of Thanksgiving, everybody's kind of they're going through the motions, right?
So I love that you're talking about this because this sets up for this question I'm going to ask you. In the home services space, okay, we all know that I have a handyman remodeling company. And if you're in the home services, we all have different cycles and different ebbs and flows in our business. And we have cyclicality in our business all the time.
Did you just say cyclicality?
I did.
That's another word you made up. I like that. That's
Come on, that's another big word. Gravitas, cyclicality, and then I dropped oodles on another podcast with the Temple of Ted because I had to drop that name in there too. So go ahead and ask me, Alan, when is my busiest season in Atlanta, Georgia in my handyman business?
Okay, if we weren't doing a holiday special, I would assume, I would think in home services, it would be summer. And the reason is you have a lot of, especially in Atlanta, you have a lot of people that are moving into the area in summer to coincide with the school year. It's when people start thinking about decks and their outdoor spaces. So that would be my guess.
So you would have, if we were doing the Family Feud, that would have been number 6.
It would have been ding.
Ding. 6, not number 1. Number 1 for us is still the spring. Because even here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have 4 seasons. We have a winter, we have a fall, we have a spring. And people don't get out of their houses because even though we're in Atlanta and not the Pacific Northwest and we don't have growing lamps all over us, we still start to tighten up after the holidays. So my slowest season is January and February. My busiest season is still spring. But my second busiest is November and December.
Wow.
With those 2 weeks taken out. When you look at just those 3 weeks in between November and December, those are my highest demand, shortest timelines, biggest, I've got to have you now, and I don't have time to hear no.
Have you managed, even though you're taking out a full week of operations, that are they the busiest or are they actually also the most profitable?
I don't know about the most profitable. That's a great question that I probably need to go back and answer. We still kind of keep our numbers rolling, keep our numbers consistent. And I say weeks because really Thanksgiving becomes, it's only 2 days. In today's world here in the U.S., Wednesday is an off day for many people.
Well,
We don't do
and
a
the
lot.
kids are off the whole week if you have school kids.
Right.
So you're
They
mentally
really don't
kind of
want you
out
there.
too.
So
Yeah.
they're out. Yeah. So
Yeah.
customers aren't saying yes. Customers aren't saying come into my house yet. The Christmas week, again, we've talked about race and religion with this, but even if you don't celebrate, you'd still know it's a quieter time in the entire world because that's just what the predominance of the world, we're all used to it. And even if you don't celebrate, you'll take a little bit of the time off. We're good with it. So we're off 2 weeks right there. But those 3 weeks on the outside of it are our busiest time. So we are in our busiest time, yet we're supposed to be sitting back, drinking eggnog, and watching the Charlie Brown special. And so they do that, the customer, then they call you in the morning and say, where the hell are you? Well, what just happened to that Christmas spirit? Didn't you want to watch one more Hallmark special? What do you mean, where the hell are you? Hey, I need that service now. Well, why are you so anxious? Because I literally have 5 minutes to attend to you because I got to go out and buy presents, get my house ready, get my kids ready. My kids are coming home. My anxiety level is like, whoa! Not Yuletide, yo. It's Yuletide, no.
You know that statistics of domestic violence go up during the holidays. And I mean, this is a season that we're supposed to be just enjoying family, and yet everybody's so stressed that they turn on each other like pit vipers.
Right?
Yeah. So as a business owner, you're not immune to this.
In the holiday season, how about going by a mall in suburban America on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night where you used to zip right through, and now you're like, can't get through for 2 hours.
Right.
You finally get through, you got to beat somebody. I'm not espousing beating your wife. I've never said that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to kick my dog.
Chris
not gonna
at
kick my...
thetrustedtoolbox.com.
But anxiety levels start to go up, and they're so time compressed. And in home services, you've got to be able to identify that. And in any business, you got to know that while people are more generous, they're almost also more time constrained.
There's harder deadlines in the holidays. You had how many people for Thanksgiving from out of state?
I had 16 people from out of state.
Yeah. So if you were somebody who was a home services customer at that point, you have a hard deadline of whenever that first flight comes in, that job needs to be done. There's no way to massage around it. I mean, if you wanted something done in your home, the same project in summer, and there's a delay, it's not that big of a deal. But when you've got 16 in-laws coming in and you want your house to look perfect, I mean, it's going to be a problem. And so that's where it goes back to not only starting up early for the holidays and getting your staffing in place, but it's also getting that consistent messaging. Everybody's on the same page and doing things as a business owner, like even talking to your suppliers and your vendors of what are you anticipating, our lead time is going to be longer and things like that. So you can start making sure that you're delivering a consistent message to your customers on what to expect, maybe saying no instead of, because obviously during the holiday season, you want to make everybody's dreams come true. But when you can't, you need to be able to say no before you even accept the job. I actually had a thought about that. And I'm sure you have people who during this time of year, for whatever reason, they decide they want something done, but it's not necessarily holiday related. Does that ever happen?
It does. We do get that a lot because I'm serious about this. I need to have it done. It's now my time. I have 5 or 10 minutes to focus on it. I need you to come into my house and get something fixed.
Right. So, and fixed is one thing, but if it's more of a remodeling thing or something that's not imminent.
I'll give you, that's a great point. We actually have done a number of bathroom remodels over the Christmas holiday. Hey, we're traveling to our family's house. Here's the key. Put it in a lockbox. You guys work your magic. Send us pictures. Let us know how things are going. And we love that customer.
Well, so one of the thoughts I had when I was on the way over here thinking about this is, and you sort of validated it, January and February are your slowest months.
Yes.
And you've got all this business during the holidays, and could you not do some sort of a triage system with your customers? We've got the things that need to be done because 16 in-laws are coming in for Thanksgiving. And then we've got this other thing that, yeah, they want it done, but there's really no time pressure. Is there a way to incentivize them to wait till January or February and fill it in? Hey, I probably could squeeze you in, but, we are really busy during the holidays and, supply chain issues, blah, blah, blah. But I've got an offer for you. What if we did it in January? I'll give you a discount, something. I'll throw in a little bit. What do you think
I
about
found
that?
that the discount part doesn't work, but I do like what you're coming from. And I think I might actually try to employ that this year as a sales tactic is we do charge a 3% credit card fee. I would probably waive that credit card fee in January because you can put it on the card in January after you get done maxing it out for Christmas.
Right.
You can put a little bit more on there, but then, you got your tax refund coming right behind it. So, and predominantly most people get refunds in the U.S., so let's go do that. I like the idea for a sales pitch. Most of the time what we have said is, here is what's going to happen. It might run up to Christmas and they'll say, nah, just forget it. Time out. Let's start on January 5. Let's get through Christmas because we didn't talk about New Year's yet, which everybody celebrates New Year's, right?
Yeah, that's becoming a bigger holiday now.
I think so. It's about like Halloween. Halloween is becoming people's new Christmas for the witches. So, but hey, I'll take it because that's another reason to make sure your house is ready to go. And then you go in there and abuse your house and we get to fix it up more. Hey, I'll take it. But back to that point about incentivizing people, I do like that. And if you're working with people, that's a great way to say, look, you can put it on your credit card and you can roll with it. Because what's happening is, and that's why January is slower for us, is that there's that malaise of I had Black Friday, I had Cyber Monday, I had 4 weeks of giving back to everybody, and now I got to pay for everybody in January. And I'm not really sure what my return is going to look like because I didn't get my W-2 back or I didn't get my taxes finished up. But then they start to see the refunds, and that's why our spring here, people are going out more, getting, the weather's turning better, but they're also getting their refunds.
Yeah. Well, in spring too, you kind of hunker down for winter. And here in Atlanta, well, today's a perfect example. It's 70 degrees today in December. And you'll get into January and you'll have that beautiful day and you're going, oh, maybe it's going to be an easy winter. And we all know that February is kind of the worst month. And so you have these cold, gray days in February that you hunker down. And as soon as March hits, then all of a sudden you start working on the yard and making it look good. And when you start working on the outside of the house, the next thing you know, you want to start working on the inside of the house. But there is that period of time where, from a cash flow standpoint, which is something else we need to talk about, is managing your cash flow. You're busy through the holidays, but not every business is. Retail sales, some businesses, they're in. Can you imagine? We had Ted here with the Temple of Ted podcast. Honey baked ham. Do they sell anything the rest of the year?
Hey, that's a great question. After Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's got to be there. Just crazy months, right?
Yeah, it's got. I would love to see their P&L. It's like we're losing money for 10 months, and then all of a sudden, kaboom!
Boom!
Yeah,
boom! It blows up. I know it. That's their two. I got to believe that you're right.
Yeah.
Especially the summer months are probably tougher on them.
So it would be really interesting how they manage cash flow. But for your average small business person, you need to be thinking about cash flow through the holidays, and you may have additional expenses. Your revenues may be down. I don't know. You can validate this, but is there a way that you can try to pack business into September and October to cover you through November and December? And then meanwhile, you have to have a big circle around January and February when it comes to marketing. And, you need to start dropping some good ads to make sure that you get business. So you really need to think about it from so many different levels through the holidays.
You do, because you have seasonality in your business, or cyclicality, as I dropped earlier. Because that's what I do. I just drop gold nuggets, big words for everybody.
We need to have a gong or something for every gold nugget that you drop.
Right.
Boom.
We all have seasonality in the business. We all have cyclicality in our business. We've got to be able to manage it. In the holiday season, you could be really high. You brought up honey baked hams earlier.
Yeah.
Because those guys are blowing it up in November and December. And in my case, I'm blowing it up. But in January and February, I'm way down. Well, who's way up in December and January? HVAC companies, because it's really cold all of a sudden, or it's snapped in and now furnaces are failing and those guys are starting to get busy. So we all have them and you've got to be able to manage them. The hard part for all of us is, what does Honey Baked Ham do when they build that church? Because you can't build that church for Easter. You got to build a church for everybody else that shows up. And I know I'm using a Christian reference, but the Honey Baked Ham guys in November and December probably need to bring on oodles of staff, to use that. So they have to bring on a bunch of temporary staff. But if you bring them all in and the money's not there, what do you do with them then? Well, you have to let them go or you can't make money. So you're balancing that thing, and you've got to look at it, and you said it earlier, is so many different levels. My revenue is going to be this high or X, and I need to have staffing at Y. My revenue should be best case at X plus 10. So my staffing has to be at Y plus 10. And if my revenue doesn't go to X plus 10, I got to cut back. Because if I don't make money. Because the vanity line is one thing, and the sanity line is the other one.
Well said. Cheers on that.
Cheers. Oh, I got a gold nugget. Cheers.
You got to go. Yeah. We just poured 2 new beers, and this is the sweetest. It tastes like a chocolate milkshake. I'm not so sure I'm crazy about it.
Really?
Yeah. But I think another thing that you need to guard against as a small business owner is you're totally focused on the holidays. And we've been talking about January and February, but there's going to be sort of a letdown of your people too. They get through the holiday season, not only from a family standpoint, but from a business standpoint. But you've got to keep your eye on filling business and doing estimates and booking deals for January and February. And how do you keep the eye on the ball there?
That's a great question. And I will tell you, my one line is probably not for publication, but
Here we go.
Let's get explicit.
Yep.
What I told my sales guys 2 weeks before Thanksgiving is F Thanksgiving. I don't care about it. You don't care about it. You got 5 days before your customers will completely ignore you. You want to make a sale? You do it now, because they're not going to call you on Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving. They are not going to email you on Wednesday of Thanksgiving. They might email you on Thursday of Thanksgiving after they've had a lot of drinks and turkey and watched the Lions lose yet again.
Why do the Lions continue to play the Thursday Thanksgiving Day?
That's tradition, and I'm from Detroit, and outside of Detroit. And yes, we have to. So I watched my Lions lose yet again, even though I had hope up until the very end.
They've come so close so many times.
They're doing, yeah. I think they got something here, but we digress. Let me go back.
Okay.
So I told those guys, F Thanksgiving. So we get back from Thanksgiving. I guess I told them what? I said, here's the Grinch. F Christmas. You got 3 weeks before the silly season begins. You want to sell something, you sell it now because you're going to have their attention now. And anybody who wants to talk to you now is also very serious about what they're doing. They don't have time to play games with you. We have serious buyers who are letting you come into their house right now.
Another great gold nugget. If you get a call in December and you don't close it, you suck, in my opinion.
Why is that?
Because what you just said, they are totally serious. I mean, you may have tire kickers the rest of the year, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, but if somebody in the middle of all this mayhem that we've been describing actually picks up the phone and calls you about a job, they want that job done.
I'm waiting for you to finish because I'm about to go off on a huge rant.
Go crazy.
Here we go. All right. If somebody calls you 2 weeks before Thanksgiving or in the middle of December and they want to see you, you go see them as soon as you can, and you get them back the answer as soon as you possibly can, because they're serious, man. They are not screwing around. They got recitals, concerts. They got to go shop for presents. They got family coming over. They got all these other pressures. The last thing you want to do is goof around with a contractor talking about, well, I want to get my plan together for the next 3 years in my house and what I want to do. Or I'm thinking of one day replacing my HVAC. I'm thinking about a new panel replacement. People don't do that. I want to design my ultimate backyard landscaping. No, they don't do that in December, man. If you're in your house, they're serious. And if we're not serious, they will not come back to our show. And that reminds me of my favorite Bah Humbug story. I go to Michigan every year. Michigan is that's my mother country. I go back home. I go back there with my family. We go back home. And I happen to be in my in-laws' house who doesn't have any cell reception for Sprint at the time when I was there. I got a call and I got a voicemail, and I picked up the voicemail when I got cell reception, and it was from Christmas Eve day at about 5 o'clock. Chris, I'd like to talk to you about the door proposal you gave me. I'd like to hear some more about what you're doing. That was on Friday at 5. That was Christmas Eve. I had Christmas Day. That was Saturday. Sunday was again there. So I called him back on Monday afternoon. And on Monday afternoon, this guy says, well, since you took so long to get back to me, I clearly realize that you don't want my business. Therefore, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Wow.
Bah, humbug, screw you. There's go Christmas, and now you know I say F Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm passionate about Christmas. I love the holiday. I do actually love it. It's a fun time for me. And this guy says that to me. And that has always stuck with me. He called me on Friday, and I did not get back to him till Monday afternoon.
What are you going to do different? You're going to be with your family. I mean, if you'd have called the guy back, you'd have been 3 sheets to the wind with your bourbon nog. Because I know your bourbon nog is probably just a little bit of nog and a little more bourbon.
We just kind of watched the nog over it.
That's right.
Bourbon, and then there's a little bit of a hint of nog.
That's right.
And then I go to church.
Yeah, that's right. And
So
ask for forgiveness.
That's what I do.
And I mean, what does this guy expect? But that goes back to also setting up your voicemail, your website, your social media, all that stuff.
And we're preaching on, and Alan is preaching right with you. What did I do wrong? Was he wrong or was I wrong? Well, of course he was wrong. I mean, come on, man. You got to give me a break, bro. Come on. But was I wrong? You bet. Why didn't I have a voicemail set up on my cell phone? Because I had all the phones at that time when I first started forwarded to my cell phone.
Right.
Over the holidays. And it didn't say, thank you for calling the Trusted Toolbox. If this is over this holiday, we're going to get back to you on Monday afternoon.
Yeah, we're celebrating the holiday with our families and all the stuff that would make you feel like a complete schmuck
if you nailed me on Monday afternoon when I called you back.
Right.
So I learned from that. So you're exactly right. What do we do? Well, first, we all have email. On our email, we put out of office message. We now have a phone system because we're a really big company. That's what we do. We put
You are kind of a big deal now.
I was on a podcast and the guy says, one of the biggest clients I work with is 100 million. I'm like, I'm not 100 million, but I'm still a big deal.
You're a big deal.
So we put that out of office message on. And you still, I would tell you, when we come in after, and the way the holidays fall again, it's going to be over a weekend on this cycle. The Monday after the holiday, it's going to be crazy. And then there's going to be calls. And if we don't jump on them right now, on the 28th of December, 27th of December, whatever it is, they are going to go somewhere else. So is there less activity? 100% there is. Guys, come on. It is. It's just less. Unless you're in the retail and you're selling stuff for Christmas, it's less. If you're in Honey Baked Hams, you're smoking busy. But in the home services space, a lot of people probably don't want you in their house right now. But those 2 people that do want to have some service. And can you make more? You can. Can you charge a premium? You can. Have I? No. But I should. Don't do as I say.
If you were smarter, you would.
If I was smarter, I would. Because they would pay anything to have you come fix something.
Yep.
And we know that plumbers, electricians, and HVAC, everybody who's in an emergency business, water restoration companies, they all charge more over the holiday.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you should gouge, but you definitely have the opportunity to charge more. I mean,
I should charge more because I got to pay my guys more.
Absolutely.
Because they want to spend time with their families too, and we're not in the emergency business. Even if you're in the emergency business, the guy who has the on-call whatever has to do it. They get paid more. They get time and a half. They get percentage plus more, and we all have to pay more for those guys to take away from their own families. And so guess what, everybody? You have to pay for that. You want that service, and you want it at that point in time, that's what happens. And I hate it that most of the water emergencies do happen in the middle of the night. I hate it that a lot of stuff that happens over Christmas just happens. But you should expect. Here's the other thing. We didn't talk about this, but I'm going to shift on this. I've been talking all negative, negative, negative. The thing I've told my team, and we always work on in our processes, is I'm telling you guys all the negative stuff, right? F Thanksgiving, F Christmas. But guess what? If you do your job right between December 1 and December 22, guess what those customers are really thankful for? They're thankful you did that job.
Yep.
They're thankful you finished that project. They're thankful you actually showed up and they got to worry about everything else and you did your job right. What do people do when they have that happen to them?
Tip.
Whoa, tip! Hello. Just got done having a guy tell me this morning, Chris, I love this company. I love working with you. I can't believe you said this because I should have got it on tape so I can tell everybody. He said, I got a $90 tip yesterday for a one-day job. He got a $90 tip for a one-day job.
That's a weird number.
Right? Well, he had a split, and I thought so too, but I guess it rounded up to whatever the whole ticket was.
Oh, he did that on a credit card?
Yeah, they rounded it up, and so he got a $90 tip. And I'm like, dude, that is awesome. Because guess what? When you come in and you provide that great customer service that you and I are both freaks about,
Absolutely.
and you make it happen, and you do this, and they got to get focused on making sure that little Johnny's suit was ready to go for the recital, and little Susie had her ballet stuff set up, and they got ready to go do all this stuff, and this all got taken care of, they will tip you because they do want to show you how much they appreciated how much and how thankful they were for what you did. Do things the right way and you'll tip. And I think anybody listening to this, we all get a little bit more tippy, not tipsy, tippy during these holiday seasons.
Yeah, you're
I know I did it at a
right.
waitress last night. I'm like, hey, baby. No, I didn't say
Did
that.
you drop a big bill?
I dropped one and I was like, you know what? She was good. And I like her. And she was a single mom. And I went, boom, I'm going to make sure she's taken care of. And I was like, I'm in the mood. I was like, I'm grateful for it because I know how hard it is. And I've had the Thanksgiving family in, but I've also had the Thanksgiving hangover of all the work we have to do and the people's anxiety level going up. And I realize what we're putting up with.
Do you remember Neil Bortz?
I do remember Neil Bortz.
Yeah, I miss
Here
him.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So tell everybody who Neil Bortz is first.
Yeah, so he was a long-time talk show host and a very fiery guy. And if you called him up and said something stupid, he would let you know. But do you know what his tradition was every year on Christmas?
No.
Every year, and I don't know how many decades he did this, on Christmas, he would go to Waffle House because they're open 365. And he would get a meal at Waffle House on Christmas Day and tip $100 to whoever his server was every year. And that was kind of his thing. So it just illustrates your point.
Right. We all get a little tippy over the holidays.
That's right.
So do it right. And guess what? Not only do you make more money as an owner, okay, but your team feels rewarded for it.
So how do you get to where you're not over-promising during the holidays because you know you're going to have some supply issues and your vendors aren't going to be answering the phone and your salespeople are trying to book these jobs? How do you avoid over-promising?
That's a really hard thing to manage because I tell my sales guys, you got 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks before the silly season. I said, you're their advocate. Try to push them to a sale. Let's push them over the goal line. Let's get them done. And once we get them in, we'll try to figure out how to make it happen. Because the other thing that happens to us a lot in this season is people who forget that we were supposed to show up for service. Or people who got distracted because we were supposed to show up for service. Because in our world, it's not an emergency or a must-have. It's a nice-to-have at the end of the day. And so when we show up and we call it our busted job, we're able to redirect them and put them to another job because my scheduler does an amazing job. So how do you under-promise and over-deliver?
Right.
And in this season, it's really hard to figure that out. But when you over-deliver, the tippy season begins.
When your salespeople are out and they close a job, so let's say they go out and do an estimate and the customer, I don't know if this, my guess is they go out and they do the estimate and do they come back to the office and figure it out and send them an email? Or
So in the sales process that we have, in home services, there are two ways to do it. You do the one call close. You show up, you present the proposal, you try to get the order on the business right there in the spot. We will do some of that, but that's about 10% of what we do in my business because we are quasi-remodelers and handymen. We need to go back and figure a couple things out.
Okay, so you come back with the number. Do the salespeople also have some knowledge of when the job could be done?
So they do, and that's what we talk about in our weekly sales meeting is, here's what you're up against, and that's what I just said. You're in a 3-week silly season. You be the advocate for them. If they say, I've got to really have this done by the 24th, you tell them, let me see what I can do. If I get the yes by now, let me see if I can make this happen in a smaller job. In a bigger job, what we typically say is probably best to let you get through the holiday season. Let's start you up in January. When we do that, with the mindset of we need to fill up our books in January anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And to most people, they're okay with that?
They are. A lot of people are, because what we're talking about here, again, is a nice to have, not a must have. Mm-hmm. I want to go remodel Susie's and Jimmy's Jack and Jill bathroom. Well, the family's all coming into town, and Susie has to go sleep with Jimmy, and grandparents have to go sleep in, and we're talking about Christmas vacation again. We don't want to mess up the bathroom. We happily wait till January. And a lot of that does happen. And I know I just got done saying about brothers and sisters sleeping together.
Yes,
That's
you
not
did.
what I was espousing. And I just got accused again of being a pedophile, or what is that called? I don't even know what that's called. I'm not good
you
at
made
that,
an
though.
incestuous reference.
Incestuous.
And I was a little uncomfortable with it, and I thought, well, maybe they'll ignore it, and then you brought attention to it. So now it's on the table.
Ed, leave that all in. Thank you, everybody. There you go. Bringing incestuous to all of us. Here we go.
So where were we? Susie was sleeping with Jimmy.
Well, I meant in Jimmy's room.
Yeah.
And so Grandma and Grandpa could sleep in the other room.
Okay.
That's what I meant. I think it's innocent. Oh my God! You can tell we're 45 minutes into this special edition of working with customers during the holidays. Alan, we got 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
And I've got a few more things to get off my chest.
All right.
Working with people.
You never run out of things to get off your chest.
This chest has taken it's got a lot of stuff to get off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like I should charge you for therapy.
You should charge me for therapy. All right, holiday season. So here we go. People come in, you start working, and yes, please come take a look at my house. We come, we say, we're on our way. We're going to come take a look, and we're going to do an estimate. One of my guys was on the phone with the lady. He says, I'll be there in 30 minutes. She said, great, my daughter will be there. I'm out running errands. When he gets there, daughter's not there. He calls the lady again. Hey, I'm here, but I don't see her. Lady says, oh, I took her with me. So in 30 minutes, this lady said, oh, by the way, F Christmas.
Right.
Because I don't care about you and your time. And that really just throws us all for a loop. So we're sitting here trying to provide that great service, and you want us to have us out there. But she clearly told us that we were not her priority because she's so distracted.
That I always chalk stuff like that up to just some people suck.
Some people do, but let me tell you about a few more stories because I got to get these all out. I quoted a window years ago, and so we're going to replace this window, and I quoted it back in August, and they said, great, let's go ahead and do it. We scheduled the job in December because of supply chain, waiting for the window to be made. We had the window set up. The pictures we had on file, windows wide open, easy to get. It's a big window. It's a 4x5 window. When my guys show up, the Christmas tree, perfectly adorned, perfectly manicured, perfectly holiday spirited up, is right in the middle of the window we're supposed to put in. And the customer says, well, you guys can move it. And so my guys call me and say, Chris, what about that? I'm like, oh, no, I am not moving a Christmas tree with the personal heirloom that's probably been in your family for 200 years, even though it says baby's first Christmas 2 years ago. So I said, no, you got to have her move that Christmas tree, guys. Go start doing everything else around the house. And that's what we do. So they had to move it. But people don't think about that kind of stuff. When you show up at their house, the next thing you know, the Christmas tree is right in front of your workspace.
Hilarious.
What do you want me to do? We'll work around it. No, I'm not working around your tree with baby's first Christmas, with grandma's handmade, hand sewn, hand ceramic. I'm not doing that. Have you lost your mind?
All right. What else is on your chest?
I got
Chris?
one more.
Yeah, I know you do.
I love Christmas.
You just said F
In my
Christmas.
first year in business, I love Christmas. I love going back and seeing my family. It's a very special time for me in the corporate America days. That was the week I took off every year. I go back to Michigan. I'd see my friends. I'd see my family. I decompress. I get to get away as much as you possibly can. And I did. I did a great job of that. And I loved it. So I love everything about Christmas. My mother used to put up 7 trees in her house.
7?
7 trees. 7 trees,
my
Alan.
God.
We worked from Thanksgiving Sunday to the Sunday following, getting that house set up for Christmas. And we had it all adorned in beautiful Christmas stuff. I love Christmas. So a lady calls and says, Chris, I need some help setting up Christmas ornaments, putting my Christmas lights up, and getting the stuff out of the basement. I said, absolutely, we'll come, $80 an hour. This is what we do. I'll dispatch my guys. Here we go. Off they go. Guy comes back. He has a $240 check. That means they work for 3 hours. Back to what you and I have talked about before, back in the time, I couldn't charge as much because I didn't think our service would be as good. Today, $80 an hour for us is a steal.
Right.
My guys come back. They tell me the story. When we got there, he said, she made us move a bunch of stuff in the basement to get to the Christmas stuff. We brought it all up, and she made us go back and forth a number of times because we kept bringing up the wrong stuff, she said. Then we got to hanging the lights, so it took us 3 hours, not 1 hour. I get a handwritten letter that says, Chris, I hired your company to come help me celebrate Christmas. You told me over the phone it would be a time and materials at $80 an hour. This job should have only taken 1 hour. It took them 3 hours. They went back and forth numerous times. They did not follow what I thought would be proper protocol, and I feel like I'm due a refund. And in the future, when somebody asks you if you can help them with Christmas, why don't you tell them no?
That's awful.
And I got something to get off my chest, Alan.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Oh,
How about that for a stinger? Right?
we can't end on that.
We can't end on that, but that one fired me up. So to this day forward, we do not hang Christmas lights. We do not help people with Christmas. I will not ruin your Thanksgiving. I will not unplug your refrigerator and buy you a new Thanksgiving turkey. Oh yeah, we did that too. We've had numerous fails, but we've had so many beautiful wins because of those tips, because we're in the tippy season. So we're going to end on a happy note. It is awesome when you get that great review because you did something during this holiday season where you didn't get distracted. Your team was lined up. You planned in August for these guys to be lined up in December, and they performed in December, made it happen, and that customer goes out there and tips these guys like nobody's business, and then goes out there and Google and says, this is the best company I've ever worked with. They made Christmas my miracle. There you go, baby.
Now that's how you end.
And that's how you end.
Yeah.
And with that, Adventure Team, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve that higher altitude you're looking for in the wild world of small business ownership. And until next time, make it a great day.